Welcome. Welcome to another wonderful episode of Women Empowered Across the World. And our illustrious leader, Carol, is not here today. So we are maintaining as strong visibility as possible with you listening in. And we would love to be able to have you be part of our group, either by invitation to be a speaker or at least to be able to see the wonderful women that come through our doors in all parts of the world. And so today we are going to hear all kinds of wonderful things about Ann Bennett. And she is, so to speak, in my world, a live wire. She, as she described before, she says, I don't go by the rules. And that's what attracted me immediately to Ann, because you got to be creative in this world. And you have to kind of break some of the rules to be able to get people to pay attention. And that's what she does really well. And hers is more of a marketing focus. However, she is going to be telling us quite a bit more about herself. So I'm not going to go into this long autobiography kind of thing, Anne. I would love to hear more about you and where you're going and what you're doing in your past so that we can get an idea about how to help your future. So go ahead, please.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for having me. Such an honor and a privilege to be here with you all. Um, where to begin? People tell you to talk about your life, right? So fascinating. Um, it was a really warm, clear, sunny day. One of those, I used to call them, I lived in New York. I used to call them the California days because New York is gray and dark generally most of the time. However, this day was clear blue sky, and the sun was shining, and it was so beautiful. And I'm doing what I always do in the morning. I used to go to the gym. That's usually how I start my day, and then trot off to work, get on the subway, go to work. So I'm walking up the street with my latte in hand, and I see all these people standing on the corner, and they're looking up. And I'm like, well, the only people looking up in New York are tourists who are looking at the stars.
Yeah, right.
Right? Everybody else is beelining it to wherever it is they're going. Everyone's got a purpose and they're moving at a breakneck pace. But today, these people are just gathered on the corner. And I don't know, I just looked up to the left to see the first plane smack into the World Trade Center. And it was in that moment that I just went into, this can't be happening. This is not happening. Must be an accident. So as I stood and watched and the day unfolded, I was really, when you ever have something really tragic or something that just hits you, blindsides you, it changes your entire life. It changed my DNA. My DNA actually rearranged in those moments and the moments following. And at the time, I was working at Vogue magazine. I was the it girl. It was all about fashion and me, and this is where I work, and all that kind of glitz and glamoury stuff. And after that experience, I really didn't care. I lost the desire for a me focus, and I wanted to focus on we as a group of people, we as humanity, we as women. Like, what do I want to do that really makes a difference in somebody else's life? If it's not one person, five people, 100,000 people. Um, and that became really my goal after that. Winding back a little bit, I originally was from California. Going to New York was a little bit like Gitcha Goes to Hell. Very different environments, ways that people related to each other. I was a beach girl. People used to ask me all the time, what did you wear to work? And I'd be, well, I came from California where all we do is wear shorts and flip-flops and t-shirts, to an environment where there's actually fashion and you're wearing clothing with shoes, things like this. And it really was quite an adjustment. I went there, I had $800 in my pocket, and I didn't know anyone. So it really was a leap of faith. My father was like, stay home and go to college and be a teacher. At that time, the two big jobs for women were mothers and teachers, and maybe a nurse, if you get really,
Ambitious.
wasn't a whole lot of choices. I, of course, was like, Dad, I'm not doing that. I'm going to New York. I'm going to be an artist. I'm going to have a retrospective show at one of the major museums. And when I'm 40, I had all these big dreams, big, big, big dreams. And I had the courage to actually carry it out. So, building a business or building a life or changing anything takes courage. It really does. Courage is really what gives you success. It's not confidence, which people think it's confidence. The confidence comes after you do the thing and you're not dead, right? Or you're not, you survived, or you very successful, or you got some feedback and maybe it didn't work. So you need to make some adjustments to how you're doing something. Everything in my world is about trying something new and seeing if it works or not. And people often ask me, how did I get my job at Vogue? Well, I didn't follow the rules, I'll tell you that much. I did not have any fashion in my portfolio at all. I didn't know anything about fashion, actually. I'd spent a lot of my career in skiing, sports magazines, skiing and boating. And I think I worked for Field and Stream for a while, more of the man's magazine kind of idea. What I knew was that I was very good at what I did. And some of you probably know you're really good at what you do. And the point is to do something out of the ordinary that gets attention, that gets people to stand up and take notice. I call it unreasonable requests most of the time. You must ask for what you want, and you must see what the feedback is and then make adjustments and ask again. If any of you are married with children, you understand you need to be 5 years old. When a kid wants something, they are relentless, right? They're just relentless because minute by minute is a new minute. And they think mom's going to change. And eventually, if I was betting person, I'd bet on the kid. If the kid wants candy, I bet on the kid because they're just moment by moment by moment, they're moving. And as adults, we have a tendency to latch on to story and on to things that didn't work out. Oh, that doesn't work. Oh, I've done that before. I always laugh. I tell my friends, I was married once. Like I'm never going to be in another relationship. I did that once. It doesn't work like that, right? That's not how life works. It's not how any of this works. So there I was at Vogue magazine, and I had taken, because I had no fashion, I was like, what am I going to do? How am I going to solve this problem? So one thing I know about myself is I am a problem solver like most of you. If you're a mother, you can run a small country because you're a problem solver. You're helping everybody else to get through the day and support them, right? I think we underestimate our value of what we actually can do. But for me, it was like, okay, I'm gonna take the magazine that's pre-existing at that time. Things were printed and you could take them apart. If you've ever done a vision board or something like that, I took the magazine apart, some of the layouts, and redesigned them and put them back in my portfolio. So when the design director opened up the book, the portfolio, at that time they had paper portfolios and you flip pages. I'm kind of in the dinosaur category in that way. You think like, pre-computer, if any of you are old enough to remember that. But anyway, flip phones and that kind of stuff. So he looked through it and was very impressed with what he saw because he recognized what it was. Now, I didn't say anything. I just let him have his own moments. And subsequently, you know, that was that. It was a great interview. The next day I called him and I said, well, I'm ready to go to work. You know, what do you have for me? And he's like, we don't really have any work. I'm like, oh, okay. Next day, call him up. How'd you like my portfolio? I'm really excited. I can't wait to come to work for you. This went on for 3 or 4 days. Again, I'm a 5-year-old. I'm relentless. I'm like, this is what I want. It's kind of like if you've ever noticed your dog wants what your dog wants, you're not going to be ignoring the dog until you're just going to be like this until you finally give it what it wants. So that's what occurred for me. The last day I called and he said, I have no work, slammed up the phone. And the next day he called me up and gave me a job. So I ended up working there for about 5 or 6 years, one of the longest runs for someone to actually work there. But I think, what I learned so much and what I've learned my entire life is you can really create anything that you want for yourself in your life with a vision of where you're going. You must have a very strong vision. And when you have a calling and it's attached to your vision, it's relentless. It never goes away, right, Megan? It just doesn't go away. It keeps coming back. You can ignore it and pretend it's not there, but it is there. So what I work with when I'm teaching people things is like, well, what would you love? How would you love it to be? Like, wouldn't you love to call Michelle Obama and go, hey, could you find me like 150 phones for this children?
Yeah.
Totally possible.
Yeah.
Totally possible. So, but how would you do it? So then it becomes like, who do I know that knows, that knows, that knows, that knows, right? Who can introduce me? Who? It's really not how, guys. None of it is how. How will reveal itself. And when you leave it open, miracles occur. When I built a charity in New York called Living Beyond Belief, it was right after 9/11. And I wanted to do something that mattered. So we decided that we would give college grants to New York City high school seniors, most of them in the foster care programs, college grants so they could go to college. And everybody was like, no one's going to give you any money. Everyone's shell shocked. We just had this tragedy. You should wait for a better time. How many of you wait for a better time? There is no better time. Just telling you right off the bat. You hear the story all the time. When's the best time to plant a tree? 20 years ago or today? Right? And if you didn't do it then, do it now. And that's how everything works. You've got to be in action around the vision and let the vision dictate what actions to take, not somebody else telling you what to do. There are certainly formats for market. I mean, I work in marketing, so there's formats and there's structures and there's things like that. But the people that get attention, the people that get what they actually want, they're zigzagging outside of the lines. That's where all the power actually is. To be able to say, well, I'm going to call Michelle Obama, or I'm going to call whoever at Apple and get them to donate these phones, or I'm going to get, this kind of thinking is like shoot for the moon, you're going to land amongst the stars. There was Les Brown that originally made that popular, but it's the way of thinking that allows possibilities to occur in your life. And my entire life has been that way. Like when I went to New York, I had $800. I didn't know anyone. I had no job. I had no friends. And I ended up with a very, very big life. But I started where I started, right? Like I furnished my entire apartment off the street in New York with people's discarded stuff because everyone puts their stuff out for other people. And I was like, oh, there's a carpet. That's awesome. And then the plant store in the corner closed. So I had all these plants. I didn't have a lot of stuff, but I had some nice things to look at, right? And we kind of, everything went like that. And I'm not saying there isn't things that take effort, but if you're finding you're running up against a lot of walls or you're struggling, there's a mindset adjustment that you need to do or take
Absolutely.
a different perspective. Like I have failed millions of times. I have fallen on my face and been humiliated. That is the road to success. I hate to tell you, it is not a total zipping uphill. That is not how it works. And you just make adjustments and you become very resilient in the meantime. And you start to really trust your intuition and you start to understand, oh, I was, when I started my charity, I wanted to enroll my friend to help me because it's more fun to do things together, right? You
Yeah.
want to have a little group of friends that are of the same vision as you are because there's more power in numbers, two or more.
Yeah.
I'm not a big follower of the Bible, but there's a lot of wisdom in there. Two or more gathered, that's the power. So it multiplies because we multiply each other. So you want to be careful. You don't want to be around people that are always like, oh, that's not going to work. Oh, I did that before. Oh, I don't have any money. Blah, blah, blah. All the stuff will pull you in that direction. That's what I call the morass. It pulls you in that direction. So it's very, very important who you tell your dreams to and how you say it's going to go. So my friend, when I told her, oh, let's do a charity in your uncle's name, she was like, no way. My friend was an international tax attorney. She was busy in a high powered job. And I was like, well, what is it going to take? Have you ever asked anybody that? What is it going to take? What do you need to be a yes? They'll tell you. And sometimes it appears like, bring me the broomstick of the wicked witch of the West. Like it almost seems impossible. But nothing is impossible, actually. Everything is possible. So you want to look at when Barry said that to me, she said, if you can get, so her uncle had his own television show in New York called AIDS a Journal of Hope on New York One. And he actually filmed his life until the last breath on television. So he had a very big effect. People used to tune in and get inspired by this guy, right? Whatever their orientation, they really didn't care. They just thought, oh my God, this guy is just so inspirational. So she goes, if you can get the reporter on the phone, who was the reporter that got the Emmy for that particular show, I'll do it. And I said, give me your phone. She gave me her phone. Ring, ring, ring. We're eating sushi out in the East Village. And she gets on the line and I just go like this. I just hold the phone out.
Nice.
Because I took action right then. I didn't go, oh, let me think about it. How is that going to happen? Who do I need to know? Do I need to build a website? All that kind of stuff that stops you from actually taking the action and receiving what's going to be for you, basically for you. That's really, really important. And so we did build the charity. It was crazy. It was just magic and miracles the whole time. I had the time of my life because I was operating outside of the rules. The rules are, oh, well, you gotta. I found another organization that would cover the 503c. I just called them up. I went to visit them. I told them the project. They're like, yeah, we'll do that for you. She's like, how did you do that? It's like, I called them up. I went in their office. I met with them. I created a relationship. Everything is relationship, by the way. You want to meet people and you don't know where you're going to meet them. I don't even remember how I came across that group. I probably just started asking people. That's my general way of doing things. you just ask and somebody comes back and goes, I know somebody who, or this organization would be really good for you. I tried Amphar at first. They're much bigger. So they were not interested in me. I was a little small fry shrimp, I was shrimpy. So I went to the next person, the next person. You want to start to be a cat. Any of you have cats? My friend has a cat called Mr. Yellow, and Mr. Yellow gets his needs met. When she doesn't feed Mr. Yellow and he wants to eat, he goes to neighbors or down the block and gets petted and gets attention and gets the things that he wants. Do you think he's upset that that person didn't give it to him? He doesn't care. He's just getting his needs met. So I want to invite you to take on, I'm 5 years old and I'm going to be just like Mr. Yellow. I'm just going to keep asking until someone fulfills the need or the want. Like if it's not Michelle Obama, I just go to the top first and work my way down because they might say yes. You don't know what they're going to say, right? They might say, gosh, you wrote me such an inspirational note. I wanted to respond to you. That happens all the time with people.
Beautiful, beautiful.
But if you,
And this has been delightful. This is so delightful.
yeah, if you don't show your heart, if you're not heart open about it, people are not going to respond in the same way it's going to become transactional. You don't want it to be transactional. You want it to be inspirational.
Beautiful,
I'll
beautiful.
get my time, shall I?
Yeah, you're right there on the button, right there on the button. And there are so many wise things that you have said. My whole page is yellow. I've got this. That's the second page. The first page.
That's Jackie. So I'm going to say choose the top two, the top two, and
Yeah,
do one. Give yourself a short leash. I know
yeah,
that you're a big doer, and probably Megan is the same way. Give yourself a couple of days, a week, whatever. If you can do it in 24 hours or 48 hours, so much the better because of the momentum that creates. Not because you have to. Okay, you don't have to, but it's kind of fun. I gave my clients, two of them, I was teaching them the other day, and I said, so how much, just using money as a matrix, a measurement, you know, how many clients, how much money are you going to make tomorrow or the next day? And one of them said, well, my sister is sick and going in the hospital. And I said, great. Not great that she was sick.
yeah, yeah.
Great. What an opportunity. Last time I was in
Ah,
the hospital, my father was dying and the nurse pulls me over. My whole family's there. Nurse pulls me over and goes, is your brother single? You don't know where this is going to come from. She has to get on a plane. My client has to get on a plane. I said, well, just strategically sit next to a woman who's your ideal client
yeah,
and talk to her on the way across country. That's a long time to get related to someone and find out about them.
Right.
Right. So we always have we have consequences and we have stuff going. We all have, it's a goat rodeo out there, people. Let's just face it. We all have all this stuff going on and everyone has different things happening. But you want to start to look at, if my vision is driving me, what would I do today?
mm,
So those things that you wrote down, Jackie, the top two, if you wrote things for yourself to do, are the ones that you want to make sure that you do this week or do in the next
yeah.
fun game. If you can do them in the next 48 hours, primo,
Beautiful,
power. If you,
beautiful,
it gives you I can
beautiful.
do anything attitude.
I love it. I love it. And you have been so inspiring. And the women that watch this is exactly what they need. It's just a matter of stepping out of that box, deciding what it is that you want to have happen. Be the cat, get it done. If it doesn't work here, we go somewhere else, and we don't have to sit and plan about it. We know what to do, just do it. I
Mhm.
mean, there's so matter of fact ways, and that's how you get the attention. That's how you get people to pay homage or to respect what you're doing because you've figured out something else. I love, what is it, Steve Jobs, and I think it was Steve Jobs, and I won't say it right. It's not wallowing in the problem. It's let's figure how to get there. I mean, what is the solution now? I mean, I don't care about the problem. I care about what it is that what are we going to do? What if? The what if.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the what if. That was it.
Yourself. I love this what if or wouldn't it be nice if
Hmm.
question.
Yeah.
What if this happened? Who would I be? How would I
Yeah.
feel? Mostly
Yeah.
you want to get into feeling tone. How would I feel if Michelle Obama did respond to an email?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, you'd be
Yeah.
like, is this really Michelle? No,
Yeah. Hi, Michelle.
it's just Michelle.
Beautiful.
Uh,
Oh, this is great. Megan, do you have any questions?
Yeah, just some comments if you don't mind first and foremost. So, and thank you so much. Very refreshing introduction. I love the fact that you walked into your interview space not sure about which part of yourself you need to be speaking about, and you just like brought all the nuggets today. And the fact that, as Jackie said, everyone listening in, tuning into this interview will be able to really take something home with them. Personally, it's making like Mr. Yellow for me. I love that one. That's my big note for the day. But also just that importance of making people realize it's not going to always be easy, and it's not going to be that smooth trip, but the tenacity perspective and the fact that you get creative about the solution that you wanting to find and the vision that you wanting to pursue. I think it's so critical for people to know that people that have found success have not just flipped over one day and been successful. It's not the way it's going to happen, and it's the reality.
depending on your belief system and the size of the project. I mean,
Yeah.
look, Mother Teresa is probably the most famous and the best marketer of the 21st century.
Mm.
Just everybody else's money. It's not
Yeah.
like you have to have money to do anything. That's
Yeah.
that's one of the big myths that people put in front of themselves to keep them staying in that box. Oh, I don't have the money, or who's going to
Yes,
give me the money, or I have no resources. What you have is your imagination,
yes,
Yeah.
love that.
is your action, and your, like we were saying, grit. You have grit, you have tenacity. Like,
Right.
you know, you're like Mr. Yellow. You're going to get
Yes,
it
Yeah.
happening. You don't know where it's coming from,
Yeah.
but you're
Yeah.
just going to ask.
That's right. That's right.
for
Beautiful.
sure.
Well, Chi-Chi's a little late here. Happy birthday, Chi-Chi. Anyhow,
Birthday.
and we're just finishing up, and you don't have enough to ask a question because you really don't know anything about Anne. But my last question would be, Chi-Chi's here from California,
Oh, awesome.
um, and also Nigeria. That's her other part of the world. Um, However, my other question and my last, because we're running out of time and we want to make it just half an hour, and you're succinct, you can do this. What's the biggest challenge of the clients that you have?
The biggest challenge is having them expand their minds,
Mindset. Hmm.
letting go of, if I could do anything over, if I were to dial back time and do things over. I mean, I was very, I never follow the rules. I never have, and I never will. But I had a lot of practice
Hmm.
as a child, right? As a kid, I was always asking for what I actually wanted instead of what was given to me. And I was, I'm grateful enough to be in, the society I'm in where, I that's easy to do, fairly easy to do compared to other places. But I think the mindset is so important. What you say to yourself and what you don't even know you're saying to yourself in your subconscious mind is where to do 90% of the work.
Mhm.
When I work with people and I'm teaching strategies and tactics, that stuff's easy. Money is easy to get. There's 50 ways to find money, by the way, at least. So make a list and start thinking about how can I find this money, because we're all hung up on the money.
Mhm.
When I started the charity, I didn't have any money. I went and inspired people to give me money because they cared about the mission. The movement was bigger. You don't want to talk about the tactics of what you do. You want to talk about the vision of what you do.
Mhm.
A lot different, and will enroll people to want to help you with resources and different things.
Yes,
Cool.
definitely get
Beautiful.
that.
Beautiful. Well, we're going to end here, even though Chi Chi just arrived. We like to keep this within half an hour. And um, there are so many, as I said, so many things to think about. And Carol would be delighted that you spent so much time on mindset, because that is exactly where she comes from. So this is for Carol today. And this has been so delightful, and we're going to go ahead and end the recording, and do what we can to learn more from you as we do that. So thank you so much. And please, all of you, do what you can to be part of us. We'd love to have you as a speaker. Either communicate with Carol or with myself on LinkedIn. So have a wonderful